Hello, welcome to episode 13 of Generation 2 of the Perfect Genetics Challenge. And we have a problem, or at least Carl's got a problem. He's trying to solve it. He's reading his alchemy book in an effort to find some solution to his problem. He was toadified when he was trying to mix an elixir, and he reckons he can use alchemy to fix the problem since alchemy caused the problem in the first place. That's his uncle Max sitting and reading. Carl and Max are both teens, although Max is a little older than Carl, but not much. Paul with the red hair and Pat with the curly hair are working on discovering potions just because they want to learn some skill. They are both imaginary friends made real. Paul is Max's imaginary friend made real, and Pat is Carl's imaginary friend made real. Neither of the imaginary friends are very concerned about Carl's current predicament. And that is Riley, who's just arrived. He's another imaginary friend made real. His previous owner was Denise, who is Carl's half-sister. Feeling a little despondent and frustration, Max wandered away from the alchemy station and ventured into the next room to see what Olivia was doing on the Scraptronic workbench. Meanwhile, upstairs on the top floor, Daryl was playing with his imaginary friend Boinky, and Daryl has been desperate to turn his imaginary friend real for simply ages, but he hasn't been able to. But now, since Mary and Barbara have moved to Vice City, there's room in the house. So Daryl's decided now could be a really good time to turn Boinky real. And here is Boinky in his live form, and he's drinking the potion that Daryl made on the chemistry table. And he's becoming real. Once Boinky becomes real, we'll give him a makeover, and then Daryl can play with his imaginary friend made real. And Boinky can go and learn some of his child skills, like cooking and playing with blocks. There is Boinky made real, and here he is after his makeover. So we'll leave the two little boys to get to know each other even better than they already do. They know each other quite well already, but they need to talk and play. There's plenty of time for Boinky to learn his child's skills. We've got other more important things to deal with, such as how to fix Carl's toadification. Here is Carl's father, Bill. He's also Daryl's father as well. That's why Daryl's got his father's hair. Did you notice the colour of Daryl's hair? Bill's decided that he's got to take responsibility for Carl. After all, he is Carl's father. Even though he didn't give him any DNA, he was abducted by aliens, and Carl is 100% alien. And Bill is having a search on the internet to see if he can find there's a solution that doesn't involve the alchemy table. And he finally works out that a witch, a very powerful witch, could solve the problem, possibly. But there are no witches with sufficient power in Moonlight Falls. And he did much research on the internet, and he finally discovered that there is one who might be able to solve their problem. But they'd have to travel to Sunlit Tides and hope that she would be prepared to have a go at fixing Carl, and that she would actually be capable of doing it. So that's where they are off to now. Just Carl and Bill heading for Sunlit Tides. So Bill calls the travel agent, and then he calls a taxi, and off they go to Sunlit Tides, hoping that somebody there will have a solution and that Carl will become an alien again without being a toad as well. Although it is fun being a toad, you can eat flies. Their flight to Sunlit Tides was quite long, but it was uneventful, and they arrived at the base camp where they worked out where Carl had to go to get to the witch, the powerful witch, who could hopefully fix his problem. Before we go looking for the witch, we'll have a quick look through this base camp. This is another one that I built and placed in the world because there is no actual base camp that comes with Sunlit Tides. Carl sat down to play on the computer while Bill sat at the computer to look for the address of the witch. And once he'd found it, he went and sat over on the chair to read They've got a window of digital fishiness there. It's found in the Windows area if you've got it in your game in build mode. Those paintings, I found them on an archive somewhere. I wasn't looking for them, so I don't remember much about them. But the base camp has got a bathroom area, which is quite large, because often there are a lot of Sims staying at the base camp at any one time. And then it's got this extra room which can be used for playing games, because I couldn't work out what else to do with it. There was just an extra space there. It's the middle room, and then the room at the other end has got beds in it, so it's where they can sleep. Babies and toddlers have got cots, and there's bunk beds for everybody else. And there's gardens all around the outside. It's got a little garden in the back, but you can see it's Sunlit Tides. Sims can just stay here and relax if they're on vacation, or they can use it as a stepping up point to go to the house that they're going to be living in if they're moving here or visiting somebody. So that's enough the base camp. It's time for Carl to go find that witch. Any of you who watched the 2 Isla Paradiso Bunch series of videos will know the witch we are going to find, because her name is Judy, and she is the first witch I ever made, and I made her within days of Supernatural being released. So I've had her for a really long time. That's why she's so powerful. So Bill contacted the witch, Judy, and made arrangements for Carl to go and stay at Judy's place until he had been cured fully from his toadification, and Bill will stay at the base camp. He'll enjoy the break. The next afternoon, after school, Carl headed over to the Butler household. This is where Judy, the powerful witch, lives. That's little Pippa. She is an imaginary friend made real. She used to be the imaginary friend doll of Bertie Butler. And here comes Carl Butler with the grey shirt on. He is the imaginary friend made real of Benji Butler. And the little one with the red t-shirt and the long blonde hair, that's Terry King. He's the clone of Triton King, the mermaid from Isla Paradiso. Carl finally got up the courage to ring the doorbell. That was little Benji Butler that just ran in with the orange hair. Got a twin brother with blonde hair whose name is Bertie Butler. And they were the little plant sims that Judy picked in Isla Paradiso. She wanted to make sure she got a plant sim, so she planted 2 forbidden fruit seeds. That's Judy that you can see through the door, jumping up and down and clapping, with the long red hair. And that's little Donna Dutil. She is the clone of Leah Dutil from France, and her imaginary friend is still a doll in her inventory. Carl waits patiently at the door, hoping that somebody will come and let him in shortly. Meanwhile, Ruth has run past him, so he's gone to speak to her. Ruth is the imaginary friend made real of Anne Butler, and Anne is the clone of Judy. After a short conversation, Ruth agrees to let Carl in, and Carl joins the household. He'll stay here until he's been cured of being a toad. When he gets inside, he finds a long, narrow hallway with a table and chairs where the children are sitting doing their homework. Except for Donna, she's sitting on the floor playing with her imaginary friend doll, whose name is Riley. And Carl just stands there. He's very hungry. And the little one that's just come in the door with the blue shirt, that's Harry King. He is the imaginary friend made real of Terry King, the little mermaid. Carl finally finds the kitchen and manages to heat himself up a quick meal in the microwave. But the problem is there's a fan hanging above that chair and he couldn't sit in it. I'll have to move that light. Luckily there's another table and chairs just in the next room. And Carl goes in there to have something to eat. Meanwhile, Judy has prepared a room and invited Carl to come down, and he does that as soon as he's finished eating his food. This room is a special room hidden away in the basement. And there's Judy practicing her magic. She's ready for him. Carl almost runs away. He's afraid. This is so overwhelming for the poor little toadified alien. This is a very powerful witch. What if she turns him into something worse than a toad instead of curing him? He stands there watching her, and all of the while he's thinking, I just want to run away, but he's worried that he's let his father down. He's taken all this trouble to bring them all this far, to this different world, to meet up with this powerful witch. And she doesn't even notice that he's there. Maybe he'll be safe. Maybe she will cure him. But what if she doesn't? This is scary. Finally she stops and she seems to notice him, and then she walks towards him and he almost faints with fear. But she just stands there, does nothing. Suddenly she turns and speaks to him. He's not sure what she said, but he thinks she made a joke, but he's not sure. And then she just walks away, turns her back on him. This is very scary. And then the witch starts conjuring something. And he went all golden. And now he's not a toad anymore. She used the sunlight charm. It worked. He is no longer a toad. That was quick. Just took a bit of building up to. And Judy's feeling rather satisfied with her success. And Carl decides he needs more brain power after that experience. So he sits down and starts restoring his brain power. This is one of his alien things that he can do. And he's still got the golden glow from the sunlight charm. He's feeling really good now. So happy. He goes over to thank Judy. And she wants to take a photo with him. One of her success stories. Judy offered to tell Carl his fortune, so they sat down together at the fortune-telling table with a crystal ball on it. And Judy proceeded to tell Carl all about his future. Carl found the whole experience absolutely fascinating, and he concentrated so much that it exhausted him, even though he didn't really like the future she saw for him. And he needed to work on his brain power again. Judy stood and pondered her best course of action and decided that the cauldron might help her make up her mind. So she walked over there and did a bit of conjuring or stirring of the cauldron. And there is Carl back at fixing his brain power problems. He really does seem to enjoy doing that at the moment. I don't know if it's the fact that he got unexpectedly cured of being a toad, or if it's just the whole experience here at Judy's place. It's a bit overwhelming for him, but his brain power is definitely on his mind a lot right now. I'm not sure what Judy's expecting to achieve at that cauldron. She's scratching her head about it. She doesn't know what she's supposed to achieve either. Eventually Carl had to stop doing his brain power thing, and he and Judy decided to have a bit of a competition on who could do the best school cheer. At least they're starting to relax with each other. And now they're having a guessing game. They are being competitive. So there goes Carl. Oh, and Judy's doing something at the cauldron again. Oh, what's that? Whatever it was, she thought it was great. Somewhat later, Judy had changed back into her everyday outfit, and I came across them playing ping pong. I should know each other pretty well by now, I think. We'll leave them there to enjoy their game, go and see what somebody else might be getting up to in this household, because we want to see as much of it as we can, as we won't be here very often. But I think Judy won, which stands to reason she's probably had a lot more practice in house. Oh look, she's done a little victory dance. Lucky we didn't miss that. There are a lot of spawners in this courtyard, and there's some will-o'-the-wisps. Now the children are coming out to play on the play equipment. There's Carl. I suspect he might be going to try to catch something. Is it one of the will-o'-the-wisps? Looks like it. He's got one too. That's little Bertie. He's the blonde of the Plant Sim twins. And now Carl's looking for a firefly to catch. There's a turtle walking around there. So there's plenty of insect life there spawning at night. Success! Carl just caught a firefly. Bertie's going to go down the slide. Carl wandered across to the other corner of the courtyard and found the fallen feathers, a chicken coop. He'd never seen baby chicks before, but they looked nice and fluffy and inviting, so he picked some up and had a closer look. How sweet, and he was so happy. Looks like he's being very careful with it. An alien with a baby chick. And here's a nighttime view of the house. You can see the courtyard there. It's got 4 walls all the way around it. Lots of things in there for the children to do, including a wishing well, and someone's bouncing on the trampoline, and Judy is up there practicing her broom riding skills on the Zoom Sweeper broom arena. She's landing. She's in a swimwear. She must have been out playing in the sprinkler. Along one side of the house is a narrow garden where they've got trees growing. You need 2 levels to grow trees indoors because they're too tall. They stick through the floor above. That's Benji, the other little twin plant sim that Judy picked when they were living in Isla Paradiso. And Anne, she is Judy's clone, and she's playing with little Pippa, who is the imaginary friend made real of Judy Butler. And of course Bertie is the blonde plant sim twin of Benji, who we just saw with the red hair. This household just loves to play in the sprinklers. You usually will find them either playing in the sprinklers or wet from being in the sprinklers. They spend a lot of time in their swimwear. It's early in the morning and the household is gradually waking up, and they're starting to wander out to play in the sprinklers. Charlie Lake, otherwise known as Charlie the Plant Sim. He was Judy's first plant sim ever. Judy made the forbidden fruit seed for him, but she wasn't there to pick him, so her friend Dora Lake picked him. That was when I got a surprise to discover that the sim that picks the baby is the one that is the parent, not the one that made the seed. And there is little Terry King. He is another clone that Judy made, and he is a clone of the mermaid from Isla Paradiso, Triton King. Charlie is a little bit older than Anne. Anne was the first clone I ever made in The Sims 3. I was getting frustrated with Judy's constant failures with the science machine, and so in frustration I got her to take a sample of her own DNA and then see if she could succeed in making a clone of herself, fully expecting another failure. But Anne emerged from the machine, and that's how I got the first clone ever in The Sims 3. It was very surprising. And that's Ruth Butler. She is the imaginary friend made real of Anne. So Anne had an imaginary friend doll and she got made real, and there she is. That's Ruth. And as I said, they're all coming out to play in the sprinklers. Oh, that's little Donna Dutille there. She is the clone that Judy made from Leah Dutille in France. So Charlie and Anne were toddlers together and children together, and then since I've moved them into this household, they are teens together. But they were never with Judy in the Isla Paradiso Bunch because I left them behind with other household members when Judy moved across to Isla Paradiso from Dragon Valley. I didn't really mean for that game to continue on, but it did for a long time. I'm definitely going to have to move that light. It's directly over that chair and none of the Sims can sit in it. And that is Joe Hart. I made him new. He's a brand new Sim and I thought that Judy should have a love interest. He's been in the house with Judy's family for a while now, but so far I don't think they've had very many conversations. They're barely aware that each other exists. So I don't hold out a lot of hope for an actual romance, but you never can tell. Judy just sat and watched TV and thought about what she should be doing. And she remembered that she had quite a few pieces of sarcophagus that she brought back from the World Adventure Tours in Egypt. So she decided that maybe she should construct one or two of them. So here she is. The first one she reconstructed was the black sarcophagus of the kings. That would make it a cursed sarcophagus. But the next one she got was the gold sarcophagus, and it was the blessed sarcophagus. She'd be happy to sleep in the blessed one, but I wouldn't recommend having her sleep in the cursed one. While Judy had been doing that, Joe had headed down to the bottom basement, where he decided he'd do a bit of climbing. Because there's a few interesting things in the basements. The basements are quite small here. They've got a group science project that's got a green flame and a tree of prosperity, but what Joe's after is he wants to go climbing up this climbing wall. He likes to do this. He often comes down here autonomously and climbs. It's another store item in case you haven't seen it. He's nearly at the top. Hit the button, he made it to the top. That's a good way to get down. It's pretty quick anyway. Meanwhile, a small group of young Sims was sitting on the floor in about the tiniest space available on the whole lot to do their homework. They were Peter Lake. Peter, of course, is Charlie's imaginary friend made real, and Charlie's there doing his homework as well. And there at the foot of the stairs is little Pippa. She is the imaginary friend made real from one of the little plant Sim twins. And Donna has finished her homework and she's playing with her doll. Carl had challenged Anne to a game of ping pong, but he hasn't improved his game very much, or if at all, and she had no problems beating him. I guess he'll improve eventually if he just keeps trying. After losing another game of ping pong, Carl came upstairs. He decided it'd be good to get to know Peter a bit better. So he had a chat with him. There's Ruth sitting there doing her homework. They're pretty good with their homework, but they don't always do it straight away after school. Now Peter's going to practice playing the guitar, and Carl is going to improve his friendship with Peter just a little by watching him perform. Looks like there's a couple of them doing homework now. A little later, some of the children headed out to the courtyard to play before it got too dark. And look at all the butterflies. I told you there's a lot of spawners in the courtyard. That's little Carl Butler just got on the swing, and Pippa is across riding the spring rider. This is amazing. It wouldn't take long to get a high collecting skill in this courtyard if that's what you wanted to do. But as soon as it gets dark, they will all vanish, and then the nighttime insects will start spawning. There's another room in the house that's set up just for the children, and I tell them all to go in there and watch TV. It's just got chairs, they can sit and read books and learn their child skills in this room. There's a couple of little imaginary friends in here we haven't seen much of. So that's why I thought if I gathered them all together. That little one with his white underpants on, that's little Harry King, and he is the imaginary friend of Terry King, who is the clone of Triton King. There we are. I think you've been introduced to everybody in the room at some point during the video. It's almost time for Carl to head back home. So we'll just go have a look at the garden, because there is a garden inside the basement. It's set up not only as a garden but as a place where they can make nectar. There's lots of storage for nectar bottles, and this is the favourite domain of Joe and Peter. Peter was the one that was playing the guitar upstairs a while ago, and he is the imaginary friend made real of Charlie the Plant Sim, or Charlie Lake. The sun was setting on Carl's last day in Sunlit Tides. Let's see what he gets up to in his last few hours. Could be interesting. Judy was downstairs playing with magic when it suddenly occurred to her that she didn't really like her new hairstyle. So she went over to the mirror and she fiddled with it a bit, and then she got her old hairstyle back, and she felt so much more like herself now. But then she had another thought. She knew Carl was about to leave, and she had really gotten used to having him around the house. And she liked him, and she wanted to keep him, but she couldn't because he had to go home. And Carl was up near the sprinklers. He was going to try to play with Terry King, but Terry decided to wander off and do his homework. And then Judy turned up, and she had a question for Carl. Could she just get a DNA sample before he leaves? Please? She just wanted a DNA sample from him, and he couldn't understand why she'd want such a thing. And he couldn't see that there'd be a problem, so he said, yeah, okay. And we all know what Judy does with DNA samples. She's got this thing about collecting DNA from Sims, and she's getting some more. And she knows what she's going to do with it. And this was Judy's own idea. I didn't think of this, but I thought it was a really good idea when she decided that's what she wanted to do. So she and Carl had a chat, and then she had to hurry downstairs. It was getting dark. Carl's father would be here at any minute to pick him up and take him home to Moonlight Falls. So she had to do what she had to do before he left, because if she doesn't, we won't see it happen. And Judy hurried down to the bottom basement where she had her science research stations located, and she decided that she would clone from sample. And we know which sample she's going to clone from. Carl had wandered down here as well, but he went down to the alchemy tables because he thought he'd just do a little bit more alchemy research before he went home. If he had any accidents, Judy was here and she could sort him out again before he left. But he was hoping that he would be accident-free, no more turned into a toad ever again. You never can tell with alchemy and toads. Toadification can happen at any moment. Judy's busy. She hasn't told Carl what she's up to. Wonder if he'll work it out. Oh, looks like she's had success. See, she had a wish to do that. I didn't notice that. There you go. Since she's been to Egypt and she's put those sarcophagus together, I thought we'd call the baby alien Nile, after the Nile River. Now what's Carl up to? He's off with a... Oh look, he's going to pick a fruit from the tree of prosperity before he goes home. And he's eating it. And he got an increase in his painting skill. And he said goodbye to Joe. And now he's saying his goodbyes to little Pippa. His father's there. There he is. There's Bill. He's turned up. He's going to take his son home to Moonlight Falls now. Goodbye, little Pippa. That was autonomous too. I thought it was cute. Carl has a chat with his father, Bill. And then Bill gets onto the travel agent and books them a flight back home.
You're blonde. Zeb, you're blonde.
And there they go. To get a taxi first. Bye-bye, everybody in Sunlit Tides. There they head off, back home. And we'll see them arriving home in the next episode. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to give it a like if you did enjoy it, and subscribe if you want to see what happens next. So bye-bye for now, and thank you for watching, and happy simming.